what we've seen in terms of a transformation in the kind of working world and business world, where when I came out of college, it really was, you had to devote your entire professional existence to your one job. And largely those jobs were office, desk-based or cubicle-based jobs, fixed in a set location, right? And obviously we know the world has changed and evolved, and not least of which was the pandemic that ultimately helped change that, I think for the better, and created more opportunities for people to be able to kind of intertwine all of their passions, all of their interests really together and not have to, check your personal life at the door when you check into your office in the old days and kind of check your, work and kind of office life at the door when you go back home and focus on your home and personal life. And so for me, I don't think about it like opportunities I'm missing. I think about it more like running towards opportunities I'm excited about being able to be a part of in some way, shape, or form.
What does it take to dominate the market right now? You're listening to Paris Talks Marketing. Each week, I sit down with marketing leaders, CEOs, and founders of some of the hottest, fastest growing tech companies out there. We mostly talk about marketing, and sometimes we veer off into other interesting topics. So if you want to grow as a marketing leader, keep listening. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Paris Talks Marketing. And today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Preston Junger. Preston is currently the Vice President of Restaurant Solutions for Nift. Nift has redefined how restaurants acquire customers by replacing traditional advertising with gifts that drive traffic and database growth. Preston also formerly co-founded Mile Square Labs as a startup consulting company and is a board member for the company that consists of 30 plus expert advisors providing hands-on business consulting, go-to-market sales, and marketing guidance for seed to Series B companies across Europe, Scandinavia, South America, and North America. Prior to Nift, Preston was the former VP and head of US operations for 7shifts, as well as employee number 82 for Yelp. That's a big one, where he was VP of brand sales for 8 years. And he has been a lifelong builder and believer in new ideas and great people. Before Yelp, he led teams at IAC, Evite, City Search, and Ticketmaster, Match.com, and Expedia are all IAC companies. Also Yahoo and Apple. As a sports enthusiast and a family man, Preston devotes a lot of time to the court, soccer pitch, ski slopes, lacrosse fields, and traveling with his family, enjoying wonderful experiences, which allows him to maintain a thoughtful and balanced perspective. And we'll talk about this. He's an optimistic, entrepreneurial-minded business leader, advisor, board member, and mentor with international experience. He has a proven track record in raising the bar for success with his unique perspective and commitment to building companies, innovative thinking, and execution. Preston excels in coaching and inspiring others to rally around a common mission, not following the status quo. Thank you for coming on the show. Welcome.
Appreciate it, Paris. Thanks for having me.
So, looking at everything that you've done, I think it's best to fast forward right to today. And I want to talk about Nift. Before we talk about this unique business model of Nift, can you tell me, how did you actually meet up with Nift and how did you start working with this company?
Yeah. And thank you for the bio. And, you certainly could have cut out some of that and wouldn't have hurt my feelings at all. But I appreciate it. And I'm proud of the companies I've been able to work for and able to make a difference working for. And with that, after my stint at Yelp, actually, as you mentioned there, co-founded a consulting company. And that was really based on the fact that I had really found this area of focus and passion during my time at Yelp, which was the opportunity to be able to help grow and scale in a meaningful way an early stage company directly hands-on at Yelp. And during that time, was fortunate to be able to connect with a bunch of folks, both, former colleagues at the time, colleagues at Yelp, and then folks outside of Yelp that were really looking to, to start their company and started getting involved in sort of the founder network and investor network. And through that is what led me to, post Yelp, where I really felt like I had invested 8 years of my career at Yelp and really loved it. The latter years really started to feel more, like the company had pretty much, established really the focus and, it became a publicly traded company. And for me, it was time to go back to building. And so I co-founded a consulting company, Mile Square Labs, as you mentioned, with my business partner. And the intention there was to be able to make more of a difference with helping more companies that were building kind of in that seed to Series A, Series B stage, with their go-to-market efforts and, largely tied to sales efforts. But of course, everything hinges on sales or is tied to sales in some way, shape, or form. And so that was 2017. I left Yale 2016, started, Milescore Labs 2017. And these opportunities like learning about Nift have been fortunately come through mine and my business partner, co-founder of the consulting company's networks and people that we've worked with or for, and, passing along to us opportunities or founders or companies that are looking for some help to bolster their efforts as it pertains to scaling or building out their sales and growth teams. And Nift came as an inbound referral from one of our advisors for the consulting company. And got linked up with the CEO and team and started to learn about the business and that they'd been around for quite some time, actually since 2015. Had a really, well-built, strongly established business that kind of started and focused kind of in one way when it began, and then through the pandemic, like so many companies, had to transform and found in sort of this reborn state of the business that was even more stable than it was kind of pre-pandemic. Again, another great story as I started to learn and started to do consulting work for Nift through my consulting firm, and I was acting as the lead consultant. Really got a lot more understanding and appreciation for what it represents. That's kind of how I got connected in with Nift. And then, one thing led to another after consulting. Really liked what I saw under the hood, really liked the team from the CEO, Ellery down, to be able to think about an opportunity to go in full time became really one, it became an opportunity of discussion, and then two, became a reality to begin and kind of jump in beginning of this year to kind of help move the ball forward, specifically for the restaurant
Yeah.
initiative within Nift.
Yeah. Now, before we go deeper into Nift, I imagine that given your history, especially the period from leaving Yelp, you're going into the consulting world, you've got 101 opportunities because consulting gives you exposure to so many interesting companies. So saying yes to 100% focus and commitment in one thing is saying no to those other 999 opportunities. How do you actually make that decision? How hard of a decision was it? Are you still active at all in Mile Square Labs or in consulting? And talk to me about the trade-offs involved with committing 100% to one opportunity when there's a lot of other great opportunities all around.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the kind of like the sub point to that question is really what we've seen in terms of a transformation in the kind of working world and business world, where when I came out of college, it really was you had to devote your entire professional existence to your one job. And largely those jobs were office, desk-based or cubicle-based jobs, fixed in a set location, right? And obviously we know the world has changed and evolved, and not least of which was the pandemic that ultimately helped change that, I think for the better, and created more opportunities for people to be able to kind of intertwine all of their passions, all of their interests really together and not have to check your personal life at the door when you check into your office in the old days and kind of check your, work and kind of office life at the door when you go back home and focus on your home and personal life. And so for me, I don't think about it like opportunities I'm missing. I think about it more like running towards opportunities I'm excited about being able to be a part of in some way, shape, or form. I believe in the opportunity to be able to make those things you care about work and fit it all in to your efforts and whatever those efforts may be. If you think of this ultimate pie of time that you have, or sort of your commitment to certain things. Obviously, for me, my family is the most important, and then outside of that, areas of interest that I really feel like I gravitate towards either as a consumer, sales leader, technologist, founder, investor. All of those things is how I kind of look at and kind of look for patterns of what I've been fortunate enough to experience in the past. And as I mentioned with Yelp, Yelp was create a really great pattern of opportunity in terms of what is some of the DNA or kind of markers of a company that's poised for success, right? And obviously success is relative, but that's kind of how I think about anything I'm involved in is one, do I care about what this opportunity is or what this, product or service is providing? Do I see it from my vantage point, my experience as something that can really become transformational in some way, shape, or form? And again, that's a broad swath of how you can interpret that, but I generally look at it like that. And then, of course, for me, it always is the people. So the people that you're spending the time with on that thing, the people that you get along with, that you appreciate, that you respect, that you can learn from, that they want to learn from you, and you have that kind of mutual balance. And so, to answer your question, that's kind of how I think of opportunities. Like, we were fortunate to learn about Nift, and I feel fortunate to have been able to work with them kind of end of last year in a consultancy capacity, and then be able to feel fortunate to be able to be consider it as a full-time opportunity and have the support of my wife and my family to kind of do what I do when, to your point, those 100 other opportunities could present something that in many cases people would view as more of a predictable or stable path. Let's say if it's a, you know, publicly traded company or a larger corporate, opportunity that might present more of the safe place to go and work. And I have a willingness and appetite for risk, but ultimately my risk is I'm betting on myself and my involvement in the things that I care about and allocating my time to those things I care about. And so I don't think much about the things I don't get involved in. I think it would just drag me down. So even though I'm in the business of sales, and which is, largely you're creating sort of this FOMO of people to get on board with something that you're selling. I myself try to not get too caught up in things that I might pass on or not, be interested in or get involved in. And even if they end up having great success, it's just wasted energy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to Nift itself. So what is Nift?
Yeah, well, appreciate you giving the high level elevator pitch specifically for the restaurants opportunity, but more broadly, Nift really was a company that's been around since 2015. So largely was intended to allow for the discovery of local brick and mortar businesses founded in by the founding team in the Boston area, and really was intended to be sort of like a Yelp, but for discovering maybe local businesses that were adjacent to places that you frequented, but you never stopped by those places that you passed by. And Nift was helping kind of folks discover through these neighborhood gifts these other businesses that, the founder initially, he had a, hair salon he went to, and, sort of the proposition to the hair salon was, if we were to give you or have an offer to, let's say, the store, the retail store next door or two doors down, that you could send out to your dedicated email list of customers to give them an incentive, to give them a, X dollar, $10 Nift gift to go try that retail store. Would you be open to it, for providing this sort of surprise and delight moment that's in a non-competitive way to your existing customer base? And so in essence was, and obviously I'm probably butchering the initial founder story, but that was how Nift was sort of activated and started from the beginning. Moving to the pandemic, which obviously, I was at 7 shifts during the time, but, Nift had to really transform the business, which was built up to be that neighborhood discovery platform. And they had a very large local sales team that was calling into a bunch of local businesses and trying to get them to, sign up for and trial Nift for customer acquisition on a local basis. Spun down that
Mhm.
team and really reformatted the business to be more in line with what people and consumers and businesses were looking to do and achieve during the pandemic, which was every business was trying to sell whatever they could online, and every one of us consumers were trying to find and buy whatever we could online, whether it be clothing, food, delivery, products, entertainment, et cetera. And so Nift really became this two-sided marketplace with getting these sort of activation partners moving forward more to become more of the, think of some of the larger platforms on the web or the internet that we rely on and use, like TripAdvisor, iHeartRadio, Meetup, TeamSnap, which is for, sports team management, Uber, Tinder, Planet Fitness. And Nift started to forge these partnerships with these activation partners that were like, we want to have Nift power these surprise and delight moments to our existing members or users to be able to thank them at milestones in their life cycle. If it's Planet Fitness, after they've been a member for 3 months of Planet Fitness Gym, we want to send them a gift. And that's where, Nift comes in and powers that whole experience. And, it's a continuous flow kind of coming from that activation partner. In this example, Planet Fitness, where Planet Fitness says, thanks for being a member for 3 months. Here's a Nift gift. And then that member of Planet Fitness is able to then go through this gift selection, process that Nift powers. And kind of we have an AI algorithm, matching process that helps make sure that they get matched with the right categories, and then based on their location are matched up with the right, two gift options that they can select from. And that, in essence, that's coming from Planet Fitness in that example, saying, thank you for being a member. We want to make sure you are, not only appreciated, but we thank you and we give you this Nift gift to go explore another business. And that business that they select can be an e-commerce business, like a HelloFresh, or it could be a restaurant nearby, like a World of Beer. And so that's in essence what it is and how it works. And I'm focused, specifically on helping build out more of the food and beverage, more of the restaurant opportunities or options
Yeah.
by working more with a sort of 25 plus location restaurant groups, because we have a reach all across the entire states, 45 million plus activations. And so in as many as we can get 25 plus, multi-unit locations on board, we can have more food and beverage options for those Nift consumers when they're looking for, maybe not an e-commerce offering like an HelloFresh or SiriusXM, but they're looking for a local bar, restaurant, quick serve restaurant, salad spot. So that's kind of how it works.
Awesome. So this marketplace on Nift, can the consumer, the end customer receives a gift voucher from what you call the activation partner. So this is the gift giver. And they take this voucher onto the Nift website and they have a whole menu of options that they can choose from with local experiences, including restaurants, which is your focus area. And so the one local business, which is the activation partner, gets to build their customer loyalty program and improve on customer retention. And on the other side, another local business gets new customer acquisition from this. So who's actually paying for these vouchers? How does the economics of this work?
Just slight clarification on that. So there's no marketplace. Every Nift gift is a personalized one-to-one experience. So if you're using TripAdvisor, you read a review and you receive a Nift gift that says thank you for contributing to TripAdvisor, you are only going to be served categories that relate to you, both based on either past interests that we might have or information we might have, or that partner might have, as well as your
Mhm.
location. And then you're going to receive, once you select those categories, you're going to select, from either only two options that are going to be matched with you. So you'll get two options. And our whole, matchmaking, sort of algorithm is all focused around making the best possible match, for that particular consumer so that they have a high likelihood of selecting that Nift gift. And then to answer your question, so yes, there's the one side, which is surprise, delight, build positive sentiments with existing members, subscribers. And again, our partners on that side are partners that have millions of users per month that they're reaching. And thereby through Nift, they're reaching with Nift gifts at certain key milestones. And they want to thank those people at those key milestones. So we're powering that. They want to opt their users in because, we can provide an added value that it makes their product offering more sticky and helps their users stick around, right? On the flip side, there's the businesses that I mentioned, like that are multi-location, 25, 50 plus location groups that have different brick and mortar locations in different markets. And they're using it as a customer acquisition tool to not only get people to come in and redeem. So it's a 30-day redemption period. So as soon as you select that Nift gift, you have 30 days to come in or place an order online for that particular restaurant. Or if you do not, and either way, if you do not, redeem it in 30 days, that restaurant still is able to build their marketing list with prospective customers because that restaurant is able to get the first name, last name, and email from anyone who selects their Nift gift. And the same thing happens on the e-commerce side as well. So because they're basically saying, I am choosing, Salad and Go, and I'm selecting this Nift gift. And so I thereby have the intention to go and redeem it. Now, what we've found through our research is that oftentimes life gets in the way. So even though someone takes that, $10, $15 Nift voucher for whatever that business is that they've selected, they oftentimes, and even we work on, behalf of feedback that we've received to remind them on a weekly, daily basis through, text and email that they have this Nift voucher for this restaurant and, they have X number of days to use it. And either way, obviously redemption is the key if we can get someone to come in and redeem it. But even outside of that, that's a highly valuable lead, even better than a lead. It's a prospective customer that restaurant then has the ability to market to, even if they don't step foot or even redeem the Nift gift. They're paying for that lead. They're paying for that prospective customer on. It's kind of akin to a CPC bidded landscape like a Meta or Google or Yelp, but it's different than a CPC because it's actually a cost per selection and you actually get a lead as a result of paying for that selection process that happens when that Nift consumer chooses your business. You pay for that person because you're getting their contact information to be able to build your, database for
Okay. Are
marketing or
you paying a
remarketing.
fixed price or is it some, how does that payment get
It's a
determined?
Yeah, it's a bidded landscape across our system. So again, depends upon like the demand within certain markets against different gifts. But ultimately, in the restaurant category, it's an average around $3 cost per selection.
Oh, okay. So does that mean that a customer acquisition cost can be $3 for that local
It's
business?
it's $3, but then they still have the cost of goods for that Nift voucher that they're offering. Because again, it's not to be confused with it's not a gift certificate. because there's no financial value to that voucher until that person comes in, and then the promo key that's in their POS is activated, and that $10 Nift gift that they received is deducted from their at point of sale at that, at that particular restaurant
I
where they
see.
receive that Nift gift.
Okay.
So that would be the cost of goods. So if it's a, $10 Nift gift, then, depending upon the 20%, 30% of cost of goods, then they're basically having to, absorb that cost in addition to the $3 cost for that,
Right.
prospective customer that they paid for.
Got it. Yeah. And how are you getting new restaurants onto the platform? How do you acquire those relationships?
Yeah, right now we're in a really, exciting time because, there's a lot of legacy restaurants that have been using Nift for many years, even kind of going back to the pandemic, before the pandemic, which was the intent of Nift, which was brick and mortar. So there's a lot of folks still using Nift as an acquisition source, but then it was never the focus until really myself and my colleague came on board. My colleague is Brian Seminis, and he's former, head of marketing for international marketing for Darden, oversaw marketing for Hard Rock Cafe as well as Margaritaville. And he's coming from the marketer side of these large restaurant groups. And him and I were working in tandem to really build out the multi-unit initiative, which is kind of the revisit of restaurant solutions or the sort of launch of restaurant solutions for Nift for the first time, which really is a focus on multi-unit restaurant groups, not the largest or biggest of the groups, but those kind of, like I said, 25 to 100 location groups we are really well suited for. We're working with a number of those folks, and we're really using our network. And when I say network, it's not just the two of our networks, which are pretty extensive. It's also we have a number of referral partners that are close sort of ambassadors that believe in what Nift's restaurant solutions can provide and offer to marketers at restaurant groups. So they're opening doors. We have a number of companies, sort of adjacent or complementary hospitality restaurant tech companies, where we're working with folks that are also helping add value to their customers by introducing this opportunity to acquire customers by exploring Nift or learning about Nift. We're heading to the Restaurant Leadership Conference next week, which is the first time Nift is actually going to be a sponsor at a restaurant. It's one of the larger events of the year where a lot of key decision makers across a number of large marketing folks, as well as C-level across some of the largest multi-unit restaurant groups, will be there in Phoenix, and we're sponsoring that event as a silver sponsor to be able to plant the flag for Nift Restaurant Solutions, get our brand out there, because largely we're in this phase right now where people don't know the brand Nift. They know a lot of the brands that we work with, which is great, but we're trying to just tell the story and kind of educate the marketplace on, how Nift can be a viable new kind of source for customer acquisition that they can actually track. They can actually build a database to market to, and we can actually help them prime folks for their loyalty program, which is super important to everyone at this stage.
So then those same restaurants can later become activation partners themselves?
They can in theory.
Or
We haven't focused as much
okay.
on that. We've gotten some fielded questions where some restaurants would like to offer Nift gifts to their employees as like a perk or an incentive at key milestones. We could do that. We just haven't focused as much of our time and effort on that route. But for sure, that's an area that we can activate those partners if it made sense. We've kind of just been, and that's my colleague on the business who runs the business development team, has really been focused on both a mix of outbound and kind of fielding inbound conversations around, again, some of the largest consumer facing platforms that are out there under the sun. In what would it look like to become an activation partner with Nift to be able to help have Nift kind of surprise and delight and kind of hit your existing customers or members with these kind of you know gift moments where they get sort of thanked for being customers or thanked for being
Yeah,
members. That's been more of the focus, at least at this point.
great. Now, a quick word from our sponsor. The Paris Talks Marketing Show is affiliated with Hop Online, a performance marketing agency focused on high growth SaaS and other recurring revenue based companies. If you like the flow of this conversation, you may want to consider jumping on a discovery call with someone at Hop Online. A discovery call is similar to my podcast interviews in a lot of ways. We'll get to know your business goals, competitive landscape, and marketing needs. And you'll almost certainly come away with some new ideas for how to accelerate your customer and revenue growth. If you're interested, go to hop.online, that's hop, H-O-P dot online, and book a discovery call with one of our strategists today. Now, back to the episode. I assume when you're speaking to restaurants and pitching, they have their existing acquisition channels, and you might be doing some competitive selling.
Yep.
And a local restaurant chain, you mentioned the sweet spot of between, say, 25 to 100 locations.
Yep.
So these are going to be maybe uh, in larger cities or regionals, but these are not going to be nationwide restaurant chains.
Yep.
So they're probably doing some PPC. They're probably on Facebook ads and Instagram. Maybe they're even doing some offline stuff with local TV and radio.
Yep.
How do you position your acquisition cost competitively against these other classic channels of digital and even offline?
I mean, I've kind of done this a few times, a few different companies where, you're kind of building in sort of this kind of phase one of go to market, where we obviously are well past having a, product market fit. We've got a product that works, product that delivers, product that's proven for, for 9 years now. And on the e-commerce side, the product is very well established. We've got large e-commerce brands that are factoring in Nift on an annual basis as a large component or slice of their marketing budget for customer acquisition. So
Mhm.
we have a playbook that works, predominantly for the e-commerce, brands that we work with. And so really it's just about kind of what I mentioned before, which is the education and opportunity to have a conversation with someone who is willing to look at maybe their current mix and say, "Hey, we're not 100% satisfied with maybe what we're doing today, and we're always open to new ways to acquire new customers or drive foot traffic or drive direct online ordering traffic." And if they're in that, you know, mindset and they're open to, exploring a new viable, not to necessarily take away from what they're doing, because, we have to earn the right to be able to get there, which I believe we will in time. But for now, it's like if you would like to have a low touch, minimally resourced requirement opportunity, no integration required to go in and trial, even across a handful of your locations, Nift, we're willing to put our skin in the game by setting them up on a pilot, 1 month pilot where we don't charge them for that cost per selection and we show them the value we can bring in terms of building that, prospective customer database. And we feel, with what we have in a product, the more folks that we can show that are open-minded to try a new potentially viable, marketing channel, that we can show them the value, that they're going to see the value and we're going to be able to, roll out to their other locations. We're going to be able to, get them to sort of factor us into their, marketing efforts moving forward. And that's kind of like what we're focused on doing right now. And that's, you know, again, quite frankly, that's one of the many reasons why I was excited about, joining Nift is the challenge of being able to educate a market on, that doesn't know your brand from a hole in the wall. I mean, doesn't know the opportunity you present or the product or service that you provide from a hole in the wall. But if you get that moment, that person who's open, that CMO or VP of marketing, and you're able to show them and then deliver on what you show them, the results that you say you will, the opportunity for us to, to grow and scale this thing is massive.
Yeah. How many cities are you in now in the US?
Yeah, Nift, we can reach across the entire country. So if you
Okay.
think about every one of our, those I mentioned some of the existing activation partners, where our plan is to, I think 4 or 5x our existing traffic or existing activations that we have with our existing partners plus new partners,
Mhm.
within the year. And so that means we reach across pretty much every market and we follow generally the population trends of, more urban dense areas. We have more activations, more folks we can reach with Nift gifts. Our e-commerce brands obviously are running national programs, so they're not really as much geo-targeted. But obviously on the restaurant side of things, we're looking at either DMA or zip code targeting that each of the restaurants is focused on so that they make sure that they hit the right person who has the, doesn't have a crazy 30, 40 minute drive that they have to go through in order to get to a quick serve restaurant to use a $10 Nift gift. So again, that's part of how we're, refining and improving the system to make sure that we're matching the right gifts with folks that again, we can eliminate some of the barriers like travel time. But yeah, we're across every market. We might have less, activations or people we can reach in some small, tiny markets, but maybe even like I grew up in Shelburne, Vermont, which is outside of Burlington. And I think even there, the Burlington, Vermont area, we have pretty good activations up there. So I know I've looked at that firsthand.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's a beautiful business model, really, because there's a win-win both for the activation partner to build customer lifetime value, and there's a win for the other local business who's getting that new customer. And even if actually they don't, it's not necessarily about a profitable customer acquisition cost, maybe for that first visit. If you think about actually lifetime value on that side as well, maybe you even take that first restaurant booking at a loss, but if you provide a great experience, then that person's going to come back,
Yeah.
maybe tell some friends, and the lifetime value and referral value from that is going to be a very high ROI. So I presume some of the restaurants might be looking at this more narrowly, thinking, well, I might break even on the first visit. Is it worth it? Or I might even lose a little on the first visit, but it is about a customer that you hope is going to be a loyal customer, just like they're a loyal customer on the gift giving side of it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we actually have a case study with one of our, customers that's, casual dining, group. They have handful, I think 10 plus locations that we're working with them on, and they were thinking the same thing that if they provided, a $20 Nift gift, that people were going to come in and spend 19.99. And in fact, the data we've been working with them now for 6 plus months. The data shows that the Nift consumers that come in spend 41% more than their average check. So the data actually shows that people are not coming in and only spending the Nift gift amount, and we make it a really big focus on not making these coupons. We're not looking for coupons or, deal seekers, and we're not looking to offer sort of the same run of the mill, offers that these restaurants might be offering on their website or across Facebook or Google. We're really trying to offer, because it is that bespoke kind of personalized, gift giving, that it's a, gift with no minimums, that it at least will cover one significant menu item, right? Because no one likes to get
Mhm.
a dollar off when, average menu items are $10. That doesn't really move the needle, and that doesn't really feel like a gift at all, right? And so we're really in the spirit of these gifts being given from the Planet Fitness, from the Tinders, from the Park Mobiles, are actual gifts for the restaurant customers that select those Nift gifts, that they can go in, and if it's a, salad and go, that they get a, meaningful gift amount, that they can go in, they can get, a wrap or a salad. And odds are they come in, have a great experience, they bring in a friend, maybe a coworker. We've also found that's the case with a lot of folks that receive Nift gifts. They might come in with a family member. They might come in with, you know, like I said, colleagues, and you give them a great experience. They get to have that, Nift gift moment. And then you have their contact, information that you can then, as the restaurant, put them in. And we have some restaurants that are experimenting with this. You put them into a couple different flows, right? If they come in and redeem, you can put them into a post redemption flow. Thanks for, using your Nift. Hope you had a great experience. We'd like to encourage you to come back again. Here's another $5 we'd like to give you, and if you enter into our loyalty program. Or if they don't come in and redeem, they don't ever use that Nift gift, put them into a different flow that then says, hey, sorry we missed you. Sorry you missed the window and you weren't able to come in and use your Nift gift. We'd like to offer you a $5 to come in and, get another chance, and for us to show you how great, our food is, great experiences. And so that's working really well. And I think, again, that's something that we provide and offer. And I can tell you firsthand, like, I worked at Yelp for 8 years, and unless they've changed massively the business, for example, those companies have, Yelp and Google and Meta have scale, so they have eyeballs. But the offering that we have is very specific and nuanced, and I think something that's, presents something a little bit different than what the others are offering.
Great. All right, Preston, let's shift gears now in a new direction. And thanks for that description, Nift. Sounds like it's a rocket ship, and maybe it's the next Yelp. And that would be amazing for you to have that second huge story like that. But I want to talk about on the work life balance side, because you've mentioned previously family's number one, and you have been involved in a lot of businesses, either as a consultant or an investor, or in this case, joining full time as VP. But you, as I read in your bio as well, you got a lot of different personal interests and a lot of different activities that you're doing with the family. What are some of the keys that help you maintain that balance? And what do you do when you feel like that might be tipping out of balance?
Yeah, it wasn't something that I figured out overnight. I think it still is. I'm still fine tuning it. But I think, having seen the other end of the spectrum, which is early on in my career, I think feeling like you had to give this kind of unattainable amount of effort into your full time job and career if you wanted to, quote unquote, climb the ladder and kind of be able to earn that next opportunity or kind of grow within your career. And very much, I think, the culture of the world was, at least when I was kind of, in college and coming out of college, that really was the case, that you were just your success was dictated by how busy you were with work and that you invariably would sacrifice your time, your personal time. So whether that was, personal time before having a family and kids, or if you have a family and kids, personal time with your family. And so that's maybe what I thought. I didn't believe that that was necessarily true. I don't know that I even thought about it that way, but I think that, I think what I found is can have a balance, and everybody talks about work-life balance. That's been a theme, obviously, for many, many years. And maybe I think about it less of like a balance, more of like a sort of intertwining of all the things that you care about, kind of like I mentioned before. And over my career, I think I've been able to go through some of those extremes where, I've pulled all-nighters working on a project or working on a deliverable during kind of some of my earlier days in my career and sacrifice some things maybe by doing that, taken away from maybe personal interest, personal care in things of the sort. And it was really having kids. I have 3 kids, definitely changed perspective for me, thankfully. And I think
How,
what
how old are your kids, Preston?
my oldest is almost 16. I have 2 sons that
Mm.
one's 15, the other is 13, and my daughter's 9. Um, so, going back to when we had my first, and maybe even when we had my second, and starting to realize like the moments, and I'd had people, everybody tells you when you have kids, like, take it all in. It goes by quickly. You don't really believe it, but it's true. And, here we are, and I told you their ages, and so you can see how much time's gone by, and
Yeah.
I think I don't wanna let the time with the most important, thing to me, and again, it's different for different people. Some people may say, well, their career is the primary focus, and that's fine. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying for me, I made a decision that those are the moments with my kids, my family, that I wanna make sure I'm around and present for as much as I possibly can. Now, that doesn't mean I don't miss things here and there, and, unfortunately, there's trade-offs, and you have to sometimes, but I've made a commitment that, family does come first, and, a lot of times people say that, don't mean it, and I think by having that be the North Star for me has made it easier to be upfront with folks, whether it be, you know, people I'm partnered with in, particular projects, people I'm advising, people I'm working full time for, people that are, sort of consulting clients, making sure that we, allocate and build a program or a process that aligns with, not just me, but even my, business partner. When we founded our consulting company, we both, believe in the same ideals around, your family matters and the time you spend with your family matters. And, you know, what's all this you can do if you make a bunch of impact and difference with a bunch of companies if you don't spend the time with your family, if your family doesn't really truly know you and what you're doing, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing that I've realized over time, and I still am not great about it. I get on my phone and I'm on my phone checking it when I'm with my family all too often, and so definitely don't have it perfectly figured out. But I know that that's at least the thing I'm trying to gravitate towards more times than not. And if you stay true to that, though, then you kind of don't have that fear of having to masquerade that you have nothing else going on other than I'm 100% focused on just my job only, Mr. Mrs. Boss, and I've got nothing else going on, and whatever you need, just let me know. And that doesn't mean I don't work hard, and I believe in working hard, and I believe in committing to what you commit to and following through with it. But it means that at the end of the day, unless you're truly saving lives, like you have to put things into perspective because the lives that you're raising as your kids and your family do matter, and shaping them matter, so much. So that's kind of how I think about things. But like I said, it's a work in progress, and still continuing to try to you know, allocate the right time to those non-family things because if it was up to me, I would be involved in helping support and build as many of the great companies and support as many great founders as I possibly can. But there's only really just one me. So that makes it challenging.
Well, yeah, you still can't clone yourself, but it sounds like you're well on your way to striking that balance. I think a lot of our listeners, myself, definitely, we are all looking for that balance, and at times it can get out of whack, and you have to course correct. And I believe we're probably around the same age, I'm guessing. And I think as you get a little bit older, for me, around mid 40s, I started to realize that I really needed to readjust and recalibrate the work life balance. Even knowing that I definitely will sacrifice career opportunities. I'll probably sacrifice the amount of growth we can achieve here at my agency, but it's still not worth it because I don't want to look back and regret that. Wow, now my kid is 18 and I wish I would have that or at this. And only if we could have done a little more of trips here or there or whatever else it is. I think It's a regret that I probably just couldn't live with at the end of it. Whereas I think I could live with the regret of saying, well, maybe the business could have been a little bit bigger. We could have had a little bit more success. That's a regret I'm ready to accept, really.
I agree. Yeah, I think the big thing, I was gonna say just, one little thing is I mentioned sports, you mentioned that in the bio is, I've between my wife and I think we don't think we've missed any of our kids', sporting events, right? So if it's games for soccer or lacrosse or if it's ski races, one of us is always there. And, I think that's not the case for everyone. And fortunately, we're able to, and we made that commitment to make that a priority. But yeah, I wouldn't want to look back and say, I really wish I embraced all those moments and were able to watch them enjoying the fun and kind of the purity of the sport that they were playing and kind of putting so much effort and time into and be able to be a fan as well as a parent. So I think you're right. I think you're spot on. You don't want to look back and, if you grow a company to become a, 100 million valuation company versus 150 million valuation company, like, you know, are
Yeah,
you really
you've
missing
spoken
out?
well. Right.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, it was that extra 50 million worth, major personal sacrifices.
Yeah.
Probably not. You've pretty much had an amazing career anyway, and maybe at that stage have created generational wealth. So it's good enough in that regard. And I think as entrepreneurs, one of the tempting things I know for me is that because I am not working for a salary, effectively the sky is the limit. So the harder I'm willing to work, the more we'll grow and the more successful we'll be. And I know that it's a pretty linear equation, really.
Yeah.
Putting in more time and effort and work will result in faster growth. And there is no ceiling,
Yeah.
which is exciting, but then it's also tempting because then you have to create that ceiling yourself.
It's true.
And you have to say that this is enough. And this is when I'm going to leave the office, or this is what I'm not going to do on weekends. And so I think, yeah, we're all trying to fine tune it. It's a topic that I think resonates with hopefully with all of our listeners to some degree. And I think the culture around this conversation has changed for the better. And I think even it's a major perk for employers, and it's a big part of employer branding to really communicate how you ensure healthy work-life balance for your employees. And I think a lot of people are looking for this a lot when they're making their career choices. The
Absolutely.
younger people now even too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to embrace the full person, all that they care about, all that they're interested in, all that defines them personally. And companies have to be able to embrace that and not stifle that, which maybe the old days it was a bit more stifling.
Yeah. Great. Well, this has been fantastic, Preston. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wish I would have asked, or is there anything else that you think could benefit our audience?
No, I mean, the only thing I would just say is if anybody who's listening who wants to connect, feel free. You can find me on, LinkedIn or Twitter, email preston.junger, Junger at gonif.com. But I'm happy to just talk about anything that we've touched on here and beyond with anybody who's interested enough to reach out. But hopefully it's been helpful. And I really appreciate you for having me on, Paris.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, Preston. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Another great episode in the books. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get notified when future episodes drop, be sure to subscribe to Paris Talks Marketing on your favorite podcast player. And to learn more about our growth marketing agency, visit hop.online. That's hop, H-O-P.online. Have a great day.